Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Cudgel here, and The Boys Season 1 discussion, spoiler talk, whatever you want to call it, cunts. See, Carl Urban could say that and seem like a badass, but when I say it, I just sound like a douche. Like, Carl Urban is the only man on the planet who can say that constantly and have it come off as charming. But regardless, there's a lot to talk about. Originally, I wasn't thinking I was going to make one of these, but then I saw the finale. I was like, well, I need to talk about this. I don't really know where to dive in here. I guess I should just start off by saying, that dolphin scene, though. I only showed a screenshot of it in the review. I probably won't play it here for copyright reasons, but that scene was amazing. I love how much they mock the whole talking to fish thing in this, like the whole lobster thing. That there's so many pervert Aquaman scenes, especially as the season goes on, where it's like, realistically, there's no reason that should have been in here. That added nothing. It's never going to be referenced again, but I am so glad they included it. Like, again, that lobster scene, that was just, there was no reason for that to be there, but it was hilarious. I love how when, like, he places the knife in the lobster's head and just not snaps it, but just like cuts it in half. I like how you hear the lobster scream for a second. Like, lobsters don't, I mean, I assume, I've never cut a lobster like that, but I don't think they do that. But I appreciate that they added that. Like, you kind of hear what pervert Aquaman is hearing for a second, so you just hear a little wait. Like, it's hilarious. It makes it 10 times funnier. I will say, I didn't mention this in the review. There was some editing stuff. I probably should have mentioned this in the review, but too late now. I'm not going back now. But there was some editing stuff, particularly in the fights, where it was like, Like, I understand this isn't a movie budget, so I understand you have to make the fights a little shaky and stuff, but it just felt like they could have been edited a little better. And that's not just in the fight scenes. Throughout it, I noticed a couple times stuff like that. It's not a massive deal, but it is kind of worth noting. Homelander, though, holy phew. So I was actually pretty disappointed in Homelander for, like, maybe 3/4 of the season, because he was the whole reason I started watching the show. Because I kept seeing the trailers for Season 2 of The Boys, particularly the Homelander trailer, where he's just like, gods like us shouldn't have to suffer like mortals and stuff like that. Like, he just sounded like the biggest prick on the planet, and it made me want to watch it. And for the first maybe 3/4 of the season, I don't want to say disappointed, because that makes it come off like I was super disappointed or anything. I was very entertained by him, but it was slight disappointment. It was like, oh, you aren't as unhinged as I thought you would be. Then those last couple episodes happen, and it's like, oh, well, I was very wrong. Like, I'm looking forward to Season 2 now, where it's just, I'm hopefully just unhinged Homelander like that the whole time. I guess I better talk about the elephant in the room. When he laser beams that bitch in the finale, holy. I don't remember the character's name, but I'm just gonna call her the bitch. Like, you know who I'm talking about if you've seen it. The director of the superheroes thing, man, she was a bitch. Like, no offense to the actress, she played it fantastically. As well, the character was a fantastic villain. I loved every time she was on screen. But when Homelander, he just takes her, like, you see him look her kind of in the eyes, like eye to eye, and I saw that, and I called it, he's gonna laser beam her. And I was just waiting for it. Then he moves up, kisses her on the forehead. I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's not gonna. Then he moves back down, looks her right in the eyes. I was like, all right, dick tease, but all right, you're gonna do it now. It doesn't do it. Finally, the camera cuts away, and you see just her eyes, or like just her face, and it's like, yep, now they're doing it. They're definitely doing it. You just see the red reflect off her eyes. It's like, yeah, That was brutal, though. Like, she deserved it, but damn. That was some good CGI and, like, effects, too. Like, I'm probably half the budget went just to that, like, 10-second clip. That was brutal. I like how Carl Urban's just sitting there, like, should I leave? Like, I was not planning for this when I came here. It's like when you're at a friend's house and their parents are arguing. It's like, should I leave? Yikes. Or like when like you're at your friend's house and their mom starts like chastising him or something. It's like, Am I in trouble too? I like how afterwards, like Carl Urban's entire card was relying on that bitch being alive so he could kill her. After Homelander does it, it's just like, well, fuck it. He still detonates it. That cliffhanger though, where he survives, because I guess cliffhanger saves him. His wife is right there and shit. Like, the whole reason I'm doing these discussions and reviews at 1 a.m. is because I want to go see what's that's about. I want to go watch season 2. I guess I could read the comics. I think I actually own the comics. If I remember right, I think I got them on sale a long time ago on Comixology or one of those apps, and I just never read it. Like, I think I own like the entire series, or at least the first couple volumes. I just don't think I ever actually read them. I might read them now. I don't know. I've heard it's kind of starting to stray off a bit from the comic books now, which I quite like when adaptations do. Except Game of Thrones season 8, you should have stuck to the books. Just waited for the 5th or 6th book to come out for Game of Thrones. We're not going to go into that now. This will be another 30-minute video if we go into Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. But yeah, that final scene, that was badass. The Homelander actor, I should probably know his name. I'm way too tired to even remember if I even know it. But that was really showed off his acting. I am really curious though, which I'm sure they answer this in season 2, but whose baby was that? Because at first I was thinking, because I kind of figured it out while Carl Urban, while Homelander was kind of talking about it and stuff, and explaining how he found out that his baby did survive. I was thinking, oh shoot, that baby is his, that the bitch director has had the whole time, and that makes so much sense, because she's way too old to have a child probably, and they even mentioned that in like the first episode. But I guess not, because those ages really wouldn't add up, because it's like, well, the kid would be 8. Plus, we see the kid at the end. So then, whose baby is that? Is it Homelander's other son? Is it whose baby? Why was Homelander carrying it? Like, I want some explanation on whose kid that was. Maybe it was just the bitch director's kid. But then who's the dad? I really don't know. I like how of all the things to include in the very long finale, they still have to include the scene where we get to see that prick Superman is a 2-pump chump.
I'm sorry.
I will say though, seeing Carl Urban in that trench coat makes me want to go buy one. Like, that's pretty unrelated to Homelander and stuff. I want to go buy a trench coat now. That sounds pretty bad on its own. I want to go buy a trench coat. I will say, I really like the dynamic between Huey and Annie. Like, I like how at the start they're both kind of parallels to each other, and then they just cross paths, and you think it's like just 1 in a million, and then they cross paths again, and again, and again. It's like, then they form a relationship. I really liked that in the show. It was my favorite part of the season. Like, both actors had amazing chemistry together. I completely believed the relationship, and I really liked it. Especially at the end, where I was really expecting them at the end, because normally what I feel like would happen when you have a situation like this, where it's like, it is a bit of a cliche, where it's like, oh, he's like, he's a spy, and he's spying on this girl or something, and then he actually falls in love, but then she finds out, and it's like the whole spy thing. I'm probably explaining that really horribly, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying, hopefully, especially if you've seen the season. I feel like I've kind of seen that before, but normally what happens is they just leave, and then I was expecting it was going to be like, oh, they aren't going to get back together again until like season 3 or something. But no, like right at the end, the relationship is murky, but it's like, I liked that. I liked that story a lot. It kept me guessing. It really kept me guessing. I will say, the first couple episodes reminded me, I mentioned in the review that like the pilot episode just hooked me, and it reminded me a lot of Breaking Bad, actually. Which, if you don't know, Breaking Bad is my favorite TV show of all time. And the first 2 episodes really reminded me of that. Like, in both, it ends with the main character killing or thinking they killed a person. Or I guess in Breaking Bad it's 2 people, but you get what I'm saying? Same difference? Then in episode 2, like at the start, you find out, oh no, they aren't actually dead. Now we have to figure out how are we gonna kill them. And in Breaking Bad, it's Walter White having to kill someone, and it's like the whole dilemma is he's not a killer, how is he gonna kill this person? And in The Boys, it's kind of the same thing, except it's a trio of people, and 2 of the 3 trio are hardcore killers. Like, they have no issue with this, it's just that they can't. Although, regardless, it still ends up the guy having to kill him in both scenarios is the guy who absolutely thinks they cannot murder. As well, both end with a meaty explosion. Both episode 2 of Breaking Bad and The Boys ends with a massive, disgusting, meaty explosion. Which, I mean, I'm not saying it knocked it off or anything, it definitely didn't. I think The Boys comic book came out before Breaking Bad anyways, but, I mean, even if it did knock it off, like, if there's anything to knock off, it's Breaking Bad, so that's definitely not a complaint. It was just interesting, though, how it's kind of similar in that same trajectory with Breaking Bad. I hope it continues that way, because Breaking Bad's fantastic. I do want to know more about Carl Urban, Billy Butcher. I want to know more about his character's backstory. Because in, like, the first episode, in one of the early episodes, he's a independent contractor for hire, basically saying he's like a mercenary, you know? And so that's what I was assuming. And then, as it keeps going on, I'm wondering, wait, was he? At first I was thinking, alright, that's probably what he was. Then he met his wife, Becca. Then he probably got out of the business or something. But then, later in the season, it seemed more like, oh no, he was just a normal guy before. Then he met her. Then she died. Then he became like a superhero killer, you know? So now I'm just kind of, I want to know more about his backstory, which I'm sure if I just read the comics I would know. But I want to know more about his backstory. Has he always been like this? Was he a normal guy at one point? If he was a normal guy, what did he do? Like, I can't imagine Billy Butcher as an accountant. Is that his real name, by the way? Billy Butcher? Like, what? I feel like you're just destined to be a superhero killer at that point. Back on that, like, season finale with Homelander and Billy Butcher, Carl Urban. I'm just gonna keep calling him Carl Urban. I'm sorry. But I really loved the framing of that. Because really, the framing of that, they so framed it, like, if you showed that scene to someone who had never seen The Boys, had no context, they would probably assume Carl Urban was the villain in that scene. He looked so menacing there, having a hostage in the dark and everything. It really played the idea that there really just are no heroes. Like, neither side is really correct in this. The superheroes are assholes, and the superhero killers are assholes. Like, it's just different shades of gray. Like, I mean, I guess The Boys, Carl Urban's clique, their group is closer to being good than the actual superheroes, but it's still like they're assholes. I really liked that. I love anti-hero stories. I think this is a great story to tell right now, especially with all the superhero mania. This is refreshing is the best word. But yeah, while I'm editing this, I'm probably gonna think of a million things I wish I'd said in this. I'm really tired. The review recording was 25 minutes. I'm probably gonna have to edit that down to like 20, maybe 15. I don't quite know yet. And then back to back, I'm recording this now, and I'm already on minute 15. So I am pooped. I am really tired. Cunt. I just want to say that one more time while I was reviewing The Boys. Like, Carl Urban sounds so badass when he said this is probably the record for most cunts in a TV show. Like, not characters that are, actually it might be a record for cunt characters, but you get what I'm saying, the most uses of the word cunt. Again, I just sound like a douche saying it. Why does Carl Urban sound cool but I don't? Is it because he's British? Maybe it's the accent. If I say it in a British accent, do I not sound like a douche? Like, I don't know. That's another thing. Is Billy Butcher Australian or British? I don't know. I thought his accent was Australian. It sounds Australian, but then they say he's British. So it's like, alright, well, which are you? I guess he's British, but I always thought saying cunt constantly was an Australian thing. Maybe I'm just mistaken, but I always thought that was an Australian thing, not a British thing. And I guess the two cultures are very similar, so I don't know. I guess he's British. He sounds more Australian to me. I'm gonna be honest, I always thought Carl Urban was American. Like, I'm gonna look it up. He's New Zealandish. Well, that's neither. I guess that's why I thought he was Australian, though, because I guess that is closer to an Australia than Britain. I don't know. I guess Billy Butcher's British. It sounded Australian to me, though. Carl Urban still did a kick-ass job, though. I don't know if he got an Emmy or a nomination or anything, but he deserved one. But yeah, I'm really tired. I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna make a lot more reviews like this in the future, because I just love talking about this kind of stuff. My channel used to be only about this stuff, and I just want to talk about it again. I don't really have a genre for my channel. My channel, the whole idea about it is just to talk about whatever I want to talk about. But yeah, I do plan on doing a lot more reviews and, I guess, discussion talks. I don't quite know what I'm going to totally title it yet, but I do plan on doing this a lot more. So I hope you like this content. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, bye.